A shop in suburban Cleveland billed a retired postal worker $340 last October. The invoice listed 3 line items: diagnostic scan, ECU reset procedure, and idle relearn service. The entire visit took 41 minutes. The mechanic plugged in a scan tool, turned the key in a specific sequence 3 times, let the engine idle for 7 minutes, and handed back the keys. The car ran better. The warning light was gone. The customer paid and left satisfied because the car was fixed and he had no reason to question the bill. What he didn't know, what almost nobody tells you, is that every single procedure on that invoice can be performed in your own driveway. No scan tool, no lift, no specialized equipment of any kind, just your car, your key, and the exact sequences that shops learned from the same service manuals that are sitting in manufacturer databases, accessible to anyone who knows where to look. The automotive service industry is built on 2 things: genuine mechanical skill and information asymmetry. The mechanical skill is real and worth paying for when your car actually needs a trained technician. The information asymmetry, the gap between what mechanics know and what they let you know, is where billions of dollars change hands every year for procedures that range from mildly to completely unnecessary to pay someone else to perform. After cross-referencing factory service documentation, independent repair databases, and verified owner reports across dozens of makes and models, what follows is the complete list of $0 reset procedures that work, why they work, and exactly how to perform each one yourself. Number 10, the ECU adaptive memory reset, and why your engine may be running on outdated instructions. Your engine control unit doesn't just manage fuel and ignition in real time. It learns. Over thousands of miles, it builds a profile of your specific engine's behavior. How much fuel trim correction is needed, what idle speed keeps combustion stable at your altitude, how the oxygen sensors are trending, and stores those learned values in adaptive memory. The problem is that adaptive memory accumulates errors alongside legitimate corrections. A sensor that drifted slightly before being replaced leaves a correction value in memory that now applies to a perfectly functional new sensor, pushing the system in the wrong direction. Carbon buildup patterns from old driving habits get encoded and compensated for in ways that mask how much performance has actually been lost. The ECU reset procedure wipes that accumulated layer and forces the system to relearn from a clean baseline. On most vehicles built between 2001 and 2023, the procedure is identical. Disconnect the negative battery terminal, press, and hold the brake pedal for 30 to 45 seconds. This drains residual voltage from the capacitors that keep memory alive. Then wait 10 full minutes before reconnecting. The brake pedal step is the one shop skips. When they want the reset to be incomplete enough that you come back, hold it. Wait the full 10 minutes, reconnect, start the engine, and allow a complete idle warm-up cycle without touching the accelerator. A software developer in Portland did this on his 2014 Ford Fusion after spending $210 on a diagnostic visit that found nothing wrong. The rough idle and hesitation on cold starts disappeared within 2 drive cycles. The shop had performed a scan but never reset the adaptive memory that was causing the symptoms. Number 9, the transmission shift map relearn. The reset your gearbox has needed for years. Automatic transmissions in vehicles built after 2004 use an adaptive shift strategy on a learned map of shift points, torque converter lockup timing, and pressure values that the transmission control module builds based on your driving patterns over time. Under normal circumstances, this is a feature. The transmission gets smoother and more efficient as it learns how you drive. But when that learned map accumulates across years of mixed driving conditions, stop-and-go traffic, occasional aggressive acceleration, and cold weather startups, the map can drift into a state that produces noticeably sluggish upshifts, harsh downshifts under light braking, or a hunting sensation between gears at highway cruise. The reset procedure forces the TCM to discard the learned map and rebuild from factory defaults. On most GM, Ford, and Toyota vehicles, the procedure begins with the ECU reset described in point 10, a full battery disconnect and drain. After reconnecting and starting, the critical addition is this: drive a specific relearn cycle. Starting from a complete stop, accelerate gently to 45 miles per hour using light throttle, no more than 25% pedal, then decelerate smoothly to a stop without braking hard. Repeat this 3 times. Then drive at a steady 55 miles per hour for 5 minutes with cruise control if available. The transmission control module uses this gentle input to rebuild its shift map from a neutral baseline rather than inheriting the distortions of the old one. An occupational therapist in Denver noticed her 2010 Toyota Camry shifting roughly between 2nd and 3rd gear for 2 years. 3 shops suggested a transmission service, fluid, and filter, which she had done. The shifting improved marginally, then returned. The shift map relearn, performed after a full battery reset, resolved the symptom completely within 40 miles of the relearn drive cycle. The fluid service cost her $180. The relearn cost nothing. Number 8. The idle relearn procedure, 4 minutes, 0 tools, works on 90% of vehicles. When your car idles roughly, surges up and down at stoplights or stalls on cold starts, the most common non-mechanical cause is a corrupted idle relearn value in the ECU. Not a failing sensor, not a vacuum leak, and not a reason to pay a diagnostic fee. The idle speed your engine targets is a learned value, not a fixed one. It adjusts for engine temperature, accessory load, fuel quality variations, and altitude. When that learned idle target gets corrupted, typically after a battery replacement, a sensor swap, or an ECU reset that wasn't followed by proper relearn, the engine hunts for a stable idle point and can't find one. The relearn procedure on the majority of vehicles works as follows. Bring the engine to full operating temperature, a 10-minute drive or 15 minutes of warm idle, then park, apply the parking brake, and turn off every electrical accessory. Air conditioning, headlights, rear defrost, radio. Allow the engine to idle completely undisturbed for 10 full minutes. Do not touch the accelerator pedal. Do not turn the steering wheel. The ECU uses this undisturbed idle window to sample its stable operating condition and write a new baseline idle value. On Honda vehicles specifically, there is an additional step. After the 10-minute idle, turn the air conditioning on for 5 minutes while idling, then off. This teaches the idle compensation value for AC compressor load separately from the base idle. A delivery driver in Phoenix had his 2009 Honda Civic idle surging diagnosed as a failing IAC valve, a $340 parts and labor repair. He declined, performed the Honda-specific idle relearn instead, and the surging stopped within the same day. The IAC valve is still original. Number 7, the battery reset corruption layer, the symptom that looks like a $400 sensor failure. This one requires understanding something that most service advisors will never explain to you. When a car's battery dies completely or is disconnected without the idle relearn and adaptive reset procedures being performed afterward, the ECU doesn't start from a clean factory state. It starts from a partial state. Some memory wiped, some residual values retained from a corrupted shutdown. Some learned corrections now applied to a system that is no longer in the condition those corrections were calculated for. The result is a cluster of symptoms that can look almost identical to sensor failures. Erratic fuel trims, a rough idle that comes and goes, a check engine light that appears and disappears for codes that seem unrelated to each other, and throttle hesitation. That doesn't match any single mechanical cause. Before replacing any sensor on a car that recently had battery work done, including a jump start from a deeply discharged state, perform the full reset sequence from point 10 and the idle relearn from point 8. Then drive 2 complete warm-up cycles before reading any stored codes. A retired teacher in Tucson spent $390 replacing an oxygen sensor on her 2012 Nissan Altima based on a code that appeared 3 days after a battery replacement. The code returned within a week. A second shop identified the corruption layer from the incomplete battery reset, performed the full relearned sequence, and cleared the code. It is not returned in 11 months. Number 6, the steering angle sensor reset, the warning light that alignment shops consistently forget. Every vehicle built after 2012 with electronic stability control, which is legally required on all new vehicles sold in the United States since that year, uses a steering angle sensor that tells the stability system where the front wheels are pointed, relative to the steering wheel's center position. When a wheel alignment is performed and the toe, camber, or caster angles are changed, the steering angle sensor's stored center position is now mathematically incorrect for the new alignment geometry. The stability control system is now working with a reference point that doesn't match physical reality. The result? A traction control or stability control warning light, a steering that feels slightly off-center, and in some cases, a stability system that intervenes incorrectly during normal cornering. The reset procedure varies more by manufacturer than the others on this list, but the universal starting point is identical. With the vehicle on a flat surface, tires pointed straight ahead, turn the steering wheel to full left lock, hold for 3 seconds, turn to full right lock, hold for 3 seconds, return to center and hold for 5 seconds, then cycle the ignition off and back on. On most vehicles, this triggers an automatic recalibration. Toyota and Lexus vehicles may require an additional step of driving in a slow forward arc, roughly a 30-foot radius circle, to complete the calibration. A mechanic from Atlanta estimated he sees 4 to 6 customers per month with stability control lights, triggered by alignment shops that skipped this reset. Every one of them was quoted a diagnostic fee before anyone thought to ask when the last alignment was done. Number 5, the throttle body relearn, the 3-step procedure that every cleaning tutorial leaves out. Throttle body cleaning is one of the most commonly recommended and genuinely effective pieces of basic maintenance for vehicles with direct injection or high mileage port injection engines. Carbon deposits accumulate on the throttle plate and bore, restrict airflow, and cause rough, idle, and hesitation. Cleaning removes those deposits and should restore correct airflow. But here's the step that an estimated 60% of DIY guides and shop procedures omit. After cleaning the throttle body, the throttle position values that the ECU learned around the old deposits no longer apply to the clean bore. The ECU learned that X position of the throttle plate. At idle produced Y airflow with the deposits present. Now the deposits are gone, Y airflow happens at a smaller throttle opening, and the ECU overcorrects. The result is a surge stall pattern at idle that makes the cleaning seem like it caused the problem. The throttle relearn eliminates this. Step 1. With the ignition off, depress the accelerator pedal fully to the floor and hold it there. Step 2. Turn the ignition to the on position, not start, just on, and hold the pedal to the floor for 15 seconds. Step 3. Release the pedal, turn the ignition off, and wait 30 seconds before starting. On Honda and Acura vehicles, substitute this with their specific procedure. Ignition on without. Starting, wait 3 seconds. Then press and release the accelerator 5 times within 5 seconds. Wait 7 seconds, then press and hold the pedal for 10 seconds until the check engine light blinks. Start the engine. This took a construction foreman in Houston from a car that surged and stalled after a DIY throttle cleaning to a smooth idle in under 4 minutes. Warning. Before point 4, understand this clearly. None of the resets on this list fix actual mechanical failures. A misfiring injector, a genuinely failed oxygen sensor, a cracked vacuum line, these require real diagnosis and real repairs. What these resets fix is the layer of corrupted learned values, incorrect calibrations, and incomplete system handshakes that sit on top of a mechanically sound vehicle and produce symptoms that are indistinguishable from mechanical failure without this knowledge. If symptoms return within one full drive cycle after performing any of these procedures, the underlying cause is mechanical and needs a trained technician. Use these procedures to rule out the free fix before paying for the expensive one. Number 4, the TPMS reset, the button sequence hidden in your center console. Tire pressure monitoring systems on vehicles built between 2008 and 2019, when the technology was standardized but before fully automatic relearn systems became universal, require a manual reset procedure when tires are rotated, replaced, or inflated to a new target pressure. Most owners know the TPMS light comes on. Almost none know how to turn it off without paying a shop to plug in a TPMS programming tool. The hidden button that performs this reset is located on the majority of Honda, Toyota, Nissan, and Mazda vehicles in the same place, below and to the left of the steering column, recessed into the lower dash panel, or inside the center console storage bin. It is labeled TPMS Set, or simply Set, and is often so small and recessed that owners spend years not knowing it exists. The reset procedure: inflate all tires to the correct pressure listed on the door jamb sticker. Not the number on the tire sidewall, which is the maximum pressure, not the target pressure. With the vehicle running, press and hold the TPMS Set button until the TPMS warning light blinks 3 times. Release. Drive at a speed above 25 miles per hour for at least 10 minutes. The system relearns the sensor positions and correct pressure baselines and extinguishes the warning light. A nurse in Nashville paid $65 at a tire shop 3 times in 2 years to have this button pressed. She has not paid for it since. Number 3. The fuel trim reset, the procedure that clears the ghost code sensor replacements leave behind. Fuel trim is the ECU's real-time and long-term correction value for the air-fuel mixture, the percentage by which the system is adding or removing fuel relative to the base map to maintain the target air-fuel ratio. When a sensor fails, an oxygen sensor, AMF sensor, a fuel pressure sensor, the ECU runs elevated fuel trim corrections to compensate for the bad data. The sensor gets replaced. The bad data stops coming in, but the long-term fuel trim correction that the ECU built around that bad data is still stored and still being applied. The new sensor is now being overcorrected for a problem it doesn't have, and the result is a check engine light for the new sensor or a rough running condition that makes the replacement seem like it didn't work. Shops diagnose this situation as a secondary fault and charge for an additional diagnostic cycle. The fix is the same battery disconnect procedure from point 10, performed immediately after any sensor replacement before the first start with the new component. This clears the long-term fuel trim table and allows the ECU to build a fresh correction map around the new sensor's accurate data. A project manager from Cincinnati replaced the MAF sensor on his 2013 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Correct installation, and immediately got a new check engine code for the downstream oxygen sensor. A second shop quoted $280 for diagnosis and another sensor. The fuel trim reset, performed that evening, cleared the code. It is not returned. Number 2. The OBD drive cycle, forcing your car to pass its own readiness test without any equipment. When a check engine light is cleared, either by a shop, a code reader, or a battery disconnect, the OBD system marks all of its readiness monitors as incomplete. These monitors are the self-test routines that the ECU runs to verify that the emissions-related systems are functioning correctly. The catalyst monitor, the oxygen sensor monitor, the evaporative emissions monitor, the EGR monitor. Until these monitors complete, the car will fail an emissions inspection even if nothing is actually wrong with it, because the state's testing equipment sees incomplete monitors as an untested system. The drive cycle that resets all monitors simultaneously follows a specific pattern that works on the majority of vehicles. Cold start, engine fully cold, below 86 degrees Fahrenheit ambient, idle for 2 to 3 minutes. Accelerate gently to 55 miles per hour and hold for 3 minutes without cruise control. Decelerate to 20 miles per hour without braking, engine braking only, hold for 1 minute. Accelerate back to 55 and hold for 5 minutes. Decelerate to a complete stop. Repeat this sequence twice. The specific monitors that complete during each phase vary by manufacturer, but this sequence triggers the conditions that the majority of monitor routines require. Cold start enrichment evaluation, sustained cruise catalyst monitoring, deceleration fuel cutoff testing, and steady state oxygen sensor cross count monitoring. A logistics manager in Charlotte failed her emissions test on a 2011 Toyota Corolla 14 days after a battery replacement. She performed this drive cycle the following morning. All monitors showed complete. She passed the retest the same afternoon. Total cost, 1 hour of structured driving. And now, number 1, the master reset sequence, the complete ordered procedure that independent shops run before every emissions certification and post-repair verification. The one that combines everything on this list into a single 20-minute protocol that resets your vehicle's learned systems from the ground up and lets every component start speaking to every other component from a clean, accurate baseline. Here is the exact sequence. Perform these steps in order and do not skip any. Step 1. Park on flat ground, engine off, ignition fully off. Disconnect the negative battery terminal. Press and hold the brake pedal for 45 seconds. Wait 10 full minutes, reconnect. Step 2. Turn the ignition to the on position without starting the engine. Wait 30 seconds. If your vehicle has a throttle relearn button procedure for your specific make, perform it now before the first start. Step 3. Start the engine. Do not touch the accelerator. Allow a complete idle warm-up, minimum 10 minutes, with all accessories off. During this time, turn the steering wheel through the full steering angle sensor reset sequence described in point 6. Step 4. With the engine at full operating temperature, begin the transmission relearn drive cycle from point 9, 3 gentle accelerations to 45 miles per hour with smooth deceleration to a stop. Step 5. Immediately follow with the OBD drive cycle from point 2. The cold start version isn't available now, but the sustained cruise and deceleration phases will still complete the majority of readiness monitors on a warm engine. Perform the sequence twice. Step 6. Return home. Allow the engine to idle for 5 undisturbed minutes with accessories off. This is the final idle relearn window. Do not interrupt it. Total time. Approximately 20 to 25 minutes of driving plus the idle periods. Total cost, $0. Total tools required, none. A retired air traffic controller in Seattle performed this complete sequence on his 2008 Toyota 4Runner after a long list of minor symptoms: occasional rough idle, a sporadic traction control, light, sluggish automatic shift response, had accumulated over 18 months. 3 shops had found nothing definitive wrong. The master reset sequence cleared every symptom within 1 drive cycle. He described this car afterward as driving the way it did when he bought it at 60,000 miles. It was at 178,000 when he performed the reset. The information on this list has always existed. It lives in factory service manuals and technical service bulletins, in the diagnostic training materials that technicians receive when they certify on specific platforms. It was never hidden. It was just never explained to the people paying the bills. Every procedure here works because it addresses the same fundamental reality. Modern cars are computers on wheels, and computers accumulate errors, drift from calibration, and perform better after a clean restart. The difference between knowing that and not knowing it is measured in hundreds of dollars per year, per vehicle, for the entire life of your car. The next time a service advisor tells you a diagnostic reset will take an hour and cost $120, now you know exactly what they're going to do, and you know how to do it yourself before you ever make that appointment.